Hello, class. Welcome to the 8th lesson of Unit 3. Today we're looking at an activity about rail trails. And as you can see here at the top of the lesson, I've put in an image of some famous rail trails. And what you can see is normally these are fairly easy to walk or bike on and not have to worry about a big change in elevation. So they're kind of comfortable to take a nice leisurely stroll on. Okay, and so today we're looking at a situation where Kieran and Claire live 24 miles away from each other along a rail trail. One Saturday, the two friends started walking toward each other along the rail trail at 8 a.m. with a plan to have a picnic when they meet. Kieran walks at a speed of 3 miles per hour, while Claire walks 3.4 miles per hour. Okay, so it's important to try to understand what's happening here, understand the situation, and sometimes it can help to make a little picture, just a very, very basic picture to help you kind of see what's happening. So these two people, they live 24 miles away from each other, so they're apart, right? So they want to move towards each other. So I think it might help for me, and maybe for some of you, to draw a little line like this here and just imagine the two people being on either ends of the line. One person's down here, one person's down here. We can maybe label it with a little, we'll use a K for Kieran and a C for Claire. And so they're on opposite ends, but they're going to be moving towards each other. And we want to try to figure out when are they going to meet. They're going to meet somewhere in the middle, right? If they're both moving, they're going to meet somewhere in the middle, and we want to see how long it's going to take them in order to be able to do that. So if you think about it here, the entire distance is 24 miles. So it's good to make a little mark saying that the whole thing is 24 miles. So that's the entire distance here. So after 1 hour, how far apart will they be? Well, let's see what's going to happen in 1 hour. In 1 hour, Kieran walks 3 miles per hour. So that actually means that Kieran walks 3 miles. So we can make a little mark on here, and it doesn't matter exactly where you put it, but it's going to be just a little bit of the way down. And we can say that that little bit of distance is 3 miles. Okay, so what happened with Claire? Claire walks 3.4 miles per hour. So we can put another mark down here. Claire is going to be walking this way, right? So Claire's going to be somewhere down in here. And it's going to be 3.4 miles. All right, so let's see about this here. So if Kieran covered this distance and Claire covered this distance, now how far apart are they? Okay, well, they covered, how much distance did they cover total? It was 3 and 3.4. They did 3 plus 3.4 miles is how much they covered, and that equals 6.4. Okay, so they covered 6.4 miles. Okay, but how far apart were they at the beginning? At the beginning, they were 24 miles apart. So it's going to be the 24 miles that they were apart, and then take away the 6.4 miles that they covered. And 24 minus 6.4, let's see, in my head, if I do 24 take away 6, that's 18. And then I've got to take away another 0.4. So I'm going to go down into 17. It's going to be 17.6 miles. Okay, after 1 hour. All right, so that's what's going to happen after 1 hour. Now it says here, move this down here a little bit. Okay, so it says here to make a table showing how far apart the two friends are after these times. So I've made a little table here for you to kind of work with. Okay, and so we want to go ahead and fill in the values here. So we have to think, what are the two things that we are looking at here in this situation? We have time for hours, right? And then we have miles. So we have miles and hours. So what I want to do is I want to label the columns. We'll have one column can be miles, and then the other column can be hours. And I'm just going to use the first letter for those, miles and hours. Okay, so let's see here. So it's after 0 hours. So I need to fill in a 0 for the hours. How many miles apart were they after 0 hours? Well, you want to make sure you understand what it means by 0 hours. If it's 0 hours, it means that they haven't gone anywhere. There's been no time that's gone by. They haven't traveled anywhere at all. So their distance apart is wherever they started from, and they started from 24 miles apart. So the distance after 0 hours would be 24 miles. All right. So after 1 hour, okay, so 1 hour here. So I'm going to fill in 1 hour in the hour column. It doesn't matter if you have hours on the right or on the left column, right? So you can switch those around. Just make sure everything lines up properly. After 1 hour, we sit here at 17.6 miles. So let's fill that in here. 17.6. Oops. There we go. And so we want to figure out for the rest here after 2 hours and after 3 hours. So I can go ahead and we can fill in 2 and 3 in the hours. All right. And let's see here. So how much ground are they covering in 1 hour? Well, you just said it was 6.4 miles in 1 hour, right? So if we double that, we're going to take another 6.4 miles away from the distance. So it's going to be 17.6 minus 6.4. So let's write that down in here. So 17.6 minus 6.4. Let's see, 17 minus 6 is 11. And the 0.6 minus 0.4 is going to be 0.2. So it's going to be 11.2. So I'm going to move 11.2 here. And then I'm going to delete the rest of this. Okay, so there's that. And then after 3 hours, you're going to be taking away another 6.4 miles, from this case from 11.2. So it's going to be 11.2 take away 6.4. Okay, so 11.2 take away 6.4. If you line that up, 11 minus 6 is going to be 5. Okay, and then we're going to take away another 0.4, so it's going to be 4.8, right? So I added in a calculator link here for you, so it's kind of hard to show the writing on the screen without doing pencil and paper, but let me just show you how it works here. So 11.2 minus 6.4, so it's 4.8. So it's 5, and then we have to take away another 0.4 from that. So it's going to be 4.8. Okay, and so I'm going to delete the rest of this here. Okay, so 4.8. So that's the table that they wanted us to complete here. But what we really wanted to know, really from the beginning, and what number 3 gets at, is at what time are they going to actually meet? When do they actually get to have their picnic? Well, we know, gosh, after 3 hours, they are still 4.8 miles apart, right? So they're still not there. They're going to need some more time. And we need to know how long is it going to take them to cover 4.8 miles. And we know that in an hour, they cover 6.4 miles. So it won't take them another hour. It's going to be less than 1 more hour after they've been walking for 3 miles. But we want to know about what fraction of an hour it's going to be, if it's going to be less than an hour. So here's where knowing your multiplication tables will really help you. We're really talking about needing to cover 4.8 miles out of the 6.4 miles that they cover in an hour. So we can look at it like this. 4.8 out of 6.4. Okay, and so we can really call that, that's really going to be the same thing as 4.8 divided by 6.4. And if you get a little strategic here, imagine the decimal points aren't there, and we just want to see what fraction this is. If we take away this decimal point and this decimal point, it's now 48 out of 64, or 48 divided by 64. If you know your multiplication tables, you can see that there's going to be a number that can divide 48 and 64, and that number is 16. So 48 divided by 16 is 3, and 64 divided by 16 is 4. So we're really talking about 3/4 or 3/4 of an hour extra that they're going to need. All right, so that would mean that they're not going to need 4 hours to cover the distance. So we want the mileage to be 0, meaning they've met. We know that it's going to be 3 hours, and then we're going to add on another 3/4 of an hour to that. So we can consider 3/4 is the same thing as 0.75. So we can say that it's going to be 3.75, or 3/4 of an hour. Let's see, 1/4 of an hour is 15 minutes. So 3/4 of an hour would be 45 minutes. So we can say 3 hours and 45 minutes. Let's stretch this out just a little bit. Okay, so you can think about it either way, right? It's either 3.75 hours or 3 hours and 45 minutes. All right, and so number 4 says that Kieran says, if I walk 3 miles per hour toward you and you walk 3.4 miles per hour toward me, it's the same as if you stay put and I jog 6.4 miles per hour. What do you think Kieran means by this? And is he correct? Well, 6.4 should be familiar because remember, that's what we covered in 1 hour. We covered 6.4 miles, right? It was the 3 and the 3.4. So there's something to what he's getting at. Let's see if we can figure out what he means. So he's saying that Claire would stay put. She would just be at her house. But he would jog 6.4 miles per hour. Well, he would be able to meet up with her, right? Because he'd be covering the same amount of distance that they both were covering together when they were just walking. So he has a point. It's just that instead of them meeting somewhere in the middle, he's going to end up meeting her at Claire's house because she's staying put. So they would be able to eventually meet up the same way at the same time. It would just involve him running towards her house instead of them meeting in the middle. So he's kind of correct. He's got a good point. Okay, and for number 5, it says several months later, they both set out at 8 a.m. again, this time with Kieran jogging and Claire still walking at 3.4 miles per hour. But this time they meet at 10:30 a.m. How fast was Kieran jogging? Well, let's see. What time did they meet up in this case? If they both set out at 8 a.m., okay, they set it at 8 a.m., but it took them 3 hours and 45 minutes. Okay, what time would that be? That would be 11:45, right? So that means that now if they're meeting up at 10:30 a.m., they're meeting up much sooner. Okay, so Kieran had to be jogging. He was definitely going faster than he was before, right? So we need to see how fast he was going. Claire's still walking 3.4 miles per hour. And how long did she walk for? If they met at 10:30 a.m., she had to walk for what? From 8 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., that's 2.5 hours, right? So for 2.5 hours, she went 3.4 miles per hour. So we needed to see, okay, Claire would have been 3.4 miles per hour times the 2.5 hours that she was walking for. All right, 3.4 times 2.5. Let's see what that is over here. 3.4 times 2.5. That's 8.5. Okay, so we know that 8.5 miles is what Claire covered. So, well, how much did Kieran cover? Because they were, how far apart were they again? They were 24 miles apart. So if Claire covered 8.5 miles, we need to see how much Kieran covered. And Kieran would have covered 24 that they had to make to meet up. Take away the 8.5 that Claire did. Okay, so 24 minus 8.5. Well, let's see, 24 take away 8 is 16. And then I take away another half from that. And so it would be 15.5 miles. So Kieran covered 15.5 miles. And in how much time? 15.5 miles, we said it was in 2.5 hours. So 15.5 miles in 2.5 hours, or 15.5 miles per 2.5 hours. Okay, which means what we're really talking about here is 15.5 divided by 2.5. Okay, and we can use our calculator for that. Let's see. 15.5 divided by 2.5, 6.2. Okay, so that means that Kieran was going 6.2 miles per hour. So much faster. All right.